educate us all on what is Mothman, who is Mothman, and what's
Well,
going
let me ask you, what do you know about Mothman?
Vaguely, I watched a movie with Richard Gere, but I forgot what went on in it.
Yeah, that had Deborah Messing in it, didn't it, as his wife? And they're like in a car accident, and then she starts drawing all these like weird pictures. Yeah. So the Mothman, a very, very popular subject, actually. I've been checking out some documentaries this morning in preparation for the show, and there was one, like just a general one that people had made about the whole Mothman, Point Pleasant, when the Silver Bridge collapsed, which is the plot of the Richard Gere film, The Mothman Prophecies, based on the John Keel book. John Keel was a paranormal investigator and journalist who wrote the book, The Mothman Prophecies. So, yeah, in this documentary, Jeff Walmsley, I think I mentioned him in the last show. He was the one that I wrote to when I had my own weird little coincidences to do with the Mothman. He said that they decided they were going to have at Point Pleasant in Virginia, where there was the Mothman sighting, plus a load of other things that went on. They decided they were going to have like a Mothman festival, and they didn't even advertise it. And something like 500 people turned up. Okay,
what's a Mothman? I don't understand. I'm not.
Okay, so it's a crypto creature. It's been around for a very, very long time. First Nation people know about it in America. So if the First Nation people know about it in my book, then it exists. It's otherwise known as the Garuda.
What's a crypto creature?
Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, skinwalkers, rakes, wendigos, anything like that, crypto.
And what does it look like?
Right, so the basic description of it is a very tall, very large black creature. The main features are it has red eyes and it has huge wings. Now the red eye things, it has like a bit of a humanoid type body. The red eye things, what happened in Point Pleasant in Virginia is when people looked into its eyes there, they had eye problems for years afterwards. So there is something about the eyes of the Mothman that can damage human eyes, at least in the Point Pleasant case. But it's a very popular crypto creature. And the best person who broadcasts about it and who researches it is Lon Strickler. Now, he sometimes appears on the Kev Baker show on a Sunday night. Sometimes you can catch him there. He does a lot of interviews. He doesn't seem to, I think he has his own show. I'm not quite sure what it's called. He doesn't seem to have many things on YouTube on his channel, just about 7 videos. But he's a seasoned researcher. He's been researching the paranormal and other such mysterious subjects since he was quite young, since about 15, 16. But the Mothman, he's been researching for about the last 20 to 30 years. So there's the most famous event in the history of the Mothman is the appearance at Point Pleasant. Now, it's called The Mothman Prophecies, the film and the book that John Keel wrote about, because the Mothman was appearing before the Silver Bridge collapsed in Point Pleasant, and it killed, I think it was about 44 people who were stuck on the bridge. They all fell into the Ohio River in their cars. So there's a thing about Mothman being associated with disasters. And for example, Mothman is meant to be seen before Chernobyl happened in Russia in the 80s. And there is a story that they were seen before 9/11 happened. I'm not quite sure if I believe that one. I think that might be just a bit of urban myth. But that's the story. Now, the latest news about Mothman, or of the last, I think it's 5 or 6, 7 years, is the appearances that they've been making in Chicago. So what's interesting about this is it's not just Mothman being seen from a distance or swooping over people in cars or things like that. That it's been seen, this humanoid creature with wings has been seen by people walking dogs in a park in Chicago, actually in the city.
Sorry, how big is it?
It's quite big, I think about 7, 8 feet tall.
And it's
Um,
black, a black
black.
man.
Um, it's got red eyes. You don't really get a lot of facial description, but the thing is about the wings, has great big wings. So I wouldn't say it's bird-like. Sometimes people, the one in Chicago is meant to be more bat-like. But what's interesting about Chicago is it's contemporary. It's happening quite a lot, and it's been happening for the last few years. That it's being seen stood on the street in the city centre, seen by police officers, seen by members of the public who are, I mean, people are horrified when they see it, they're in shock. But what it can do is it can just shoot up into the air, just like vertically, and fly off. I mean, it sounds absolutely bizarre, but there's been a lot of sightings of it. So what's interesting about Chicago is going back to the prophecy bit. So it's always associated with like mass death, sadly. And what's been happening in Chicago is week in, week out, people are being shot dead in gang wars that have been going on. And it's relentless. It just goes on and on and on. There's usually, if there's a holiday, say like a typical American holiday like Memorial Day, Labor Day, Independence Day, the figure just goes up to over 100, and about 20 people of those will be shot dead. So there is people dying all the time in unusual numbers. So I'm wondering if that's the reason why this creature's hanging around. On a documentary I was listening before the show, Lon Strickler was pointing out that Michigan and all around that state has always had a tradition of the paranormal and the strange happening. So weird things have been happening there for a while, and Chicago as well has got a long history of the paranormal. Quite a lot of tragedies and things have happened there. But this is the current tragedy, the loss of life, week in, week out. The other thing about the Mothman being seen in Chicago, I think the very first sighting, it was seen on top, I can't remember what that really tall tower is. Is it Wilmot Tower or something? Right in the city centre. I think that was the very first sighting several years back. But ever since then, it's been seen quite consistently. And there are other aspects to this that go further than just seeing like a crypto creature, you know, a cryptozoology monster, whatever. Mothman's always associated with UFOs, strange lights being seen, and in the case of Point Pleasant, there was men in black who turned up and were acting quite menacingly towards like the local residents. So you get, as soon as Mothman shows up, you start getting some really strange things happening. Like time goes messed with for people. A lot of strange phone calls. There's this character called Indrid Cold, or Indrid Cold, that's is featured in the Richard Gere film, The Mothman's Prophecy, Mothman Prophecy, who keeps phoning Richard Gere up and just knows loads of things about him. Like a psychic telepathy thing. There's speculation that Indrid Cold is a real entity. What that entity is, nobody knows. Is it an alien? Because there seems to be an alien element to this, which there seems to be with most of the cryptids that people encounter. I'm quite a cryptid fan myself, so I follow quite a lot of the different people who talk about the various cryptids. And time again, there will be a UFO aspect to it, especially with Sasquatches and Bigfoot. There's a huge UFO and alien aspect to that. Dogmen as well. I would say the only ones that don't really seem to be associated with UFOs are skinwalkers and Wendigos. but they're First Nation cryptos, really. So it's quite a strange story, but a very fascinating and interesting one, as like illustrated by the Mothman Museum. Like I was saying, in Point Pleasant, they have a Mothman festival every year now, and it's a massive tourist attraction. People are fascinated by the Mothman. They want to know more about it.
Why is it in Point Pleasant again? Sorry.
That's because the Mothman appeared in the 60s,
Yeah.
and was seen flying around and perching on the Silver Bridge, which was a big bridge going across the Ohio River that connected the town of Point Pleasant to another bit of the town. And just before Christmas, a lot of people died because the bridge collapsed. So the Mothman's associated with tragedy. Now, ever since then, that happened, there's just been people going to Point Pleasant non-stop, people wanting to know things. And like I said at the time, there was men in black turned up and were warning people, not to speak to people, not to tell them things. I mean, there's so much to this story. There's no way I can pack it all into just an hour. I'd advise people to go and research it themselves. The book by John Keel is good. The Mothman Prophecies, if you can get that. That's the book I got out of the library that was brand new and just fell to bits completely.
What about the movie?
Yeah, the Richard Gere movie, Richard Gere and Deborah Messing. That's really good. It's not completely sticking to the real story, but it's just about the story. Yeah, Richard Gere plays like a journalist who works for something like the Washington Post, and he ends up in Point Pleasant, and he ends up getting investigating the Mothman. It's also got, I think it's Laura Dern in it. She plays the police officer. But they get all the basic aspects of the story. And also on the DVD, there's an additional bit where people who witnessed the Mothman at the time are interviewed. And some of them have passed away now, but some of them are still alive. I think it came out in the early 2000s, that film. So it's worth getting for that. But yeah, fascinating story, scary. I mean, it's meant to be that when you encounter this thing, there's no way you're getting your camera out and taking a few pics because it's just too strangely terrifying.
Hmm. So what do I know Brian Barrett would probably say it's a Djinn, it's a Djinn.
No, but what are all these things? What are Sasquatches? What are dogmen? And people encounter these things all the time. There are thousands of encounters with these kind of creatures.
Probably they are Djinn, don't you think?
Sorry?
Probably they are Djinn who found bodies, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's the same with Sasquatches. There's this. They're not just like big hairy men that scare people in forests. There's a lot more to them than that. Like I said, there's a UFO aspect. There's a really good YouTube show called How to Hunt, and it's this guy who's been like a hunter and he's just been basically out in the woods for like the last 40 years. But he started this show, and he's a bit like Deborah, who we interviewed from British Bigfoot. He gets all the emails and letters from people who've had encounters, and the all kinds of people, the military people, but and there's just thousands of them. And the recent one was an interesting one. It was actually somebody who had an encounter in Wales, in this country, in the UK. And he was a nuclear physicist, this guy, and he'd lived all over the world, totally professional, respectable, all the rest of it. And basically what he described, he saw a Bigfoot out in the forest in Wales, but what he described was an alien abduction. But he doesn't realise, you can tell that he's been abducted. And I thought, God, that's terrifying. I mean, it was bad enough seeing the Bigfoot, but then the things that happened to him within that, time, he woke up, he came to in a 2.5 miles away from where he was when he first saw it. His shoes were missing, his clothes were on back to front, and he was absolutely terrified. And he was terrified ever since then. So
Doesn't
people
that
have like massive PTSD.
doesn't that mix with the Jinn? I remember Deborah talked about the men of the trees. That sounds Jinn-like. And don't the Jinns, they're supposedly the Fae, aren't they? We call them the Fae. Don't they take people like changelings and supposedly
They're meant to, yeah.
so maybe it is the same thing.
I don't know. There seems to be different versions of Sasquatches. There seem to be things that are like Predator, that like predators in the movie Predator that can cloak themselves, and there seems to be all kinds of things out there. But what I'm curious about ultimately is, why is all this coming out now? Is it because of technology? And we're just all communicating with each other, because it seems like there's been like a crypto explosion, for want of a better word. You never used to hear about dogmen. It was werewolves. Yeah, you knew about werewolves, but they were like a fictional thing. Well, it turns out they might not be a fictional thing. And there's dogmen, and people
Mm,
have been having encounters with dogmen for hundreds of years. I mean, what the hell? So why are we only learning about this now? It's like really odd, I think.
it is. It is.
So what do you think? So do you think it's gin related, all this?
Probably, yeah. I was listening to Merciful Seven YouTube the other night, and they were saying about how there's hordes of gin over the UK. Hordes. Well, we're going to start seeing them then, aren't we? And I think, yeah, the abductions, that's all very strange. That's probably gin-like. But then the word gin, just, I mean, what does it mean? It's just a word. It means hidden, actually. So, just these beings that are around us are like Lord of the Rings, we're the little dwarfs in the Middle Earth, and there's other beings around us that we don't really know about. We've been kept in a sort of little bubble for some reason. I think it maybe we were supposed to know, like in pagan times, we did
Yeah,
know about
good
all this
point. We
shit.
probably did know. Yeah,
Yeah, we had
about
Fenrir the wolf. Remember, I saw him in a vision of my Jinn, and he was
oh
somehow
yeah,
talking to the Jinn. Fenrir was talking to the Jinn, and I thought if I'd have grown up like a pagan, I'd totally believe in Fenrir. I'd totally believe in the other worlds, the other gods, and all that. But because Christianity, whatever Christianity is, Jesus worship, I suppose, it came in and all these lands where we were very much in touch with all that men of the trees and probably Mothman and all that kind of stuff. And they wiped it all out with some kind of weird thing. But people think it's a good thing. But actually, I found Christianity and certainly Catholicism, it sort of crushed everything supernatural, We weren't
yeah,
allowed to talk about mermaids. I had magic books snatched off me and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know what Christianity brought with it. I think it brought with it kind of like putting us into a prison away from our natural inclination to talk to spirits, to see spirits, to believe in it, to believe in other creatures. And I
yeah,
think Christianity was a bad thing. It's like a prison. And I think I don't really understand where it's come from or why, but it crushed out all of that. I think it's part of a layer of the matrix that we're in this little box where all we know about is fucking, excuse my French, going to Tesco and Waitrose and, movies. We're just kept in a little box and we're kept ignorant as well.
yeah. I think you're totally right. I mean, I always seem to mention him in every show, don't I? Tommy Sheridan has exactly the same view. I think he calls it the Abrahamic infection,
Right.
and he's very feels very strongly about it, very passionate about it, and he talks about how about like the Druids and all the how we were all pagan and we were in touch with everything, and we knew how to work with nature. We were in tune with nature, and like you said, all these creatures, we knew about them, and that was all taken away. Um, But I
Who
think
did
it's
that
coming
then?
back.
Who did that? I mean, whose hand was that did it?
I don't know. Was it the Romans? Did they bring Christianity with them? In our case, anywhere in the UK.
I
Was
don't
it the
know.
Romans? I know the Romans
Probably.
killed the Druids, didn't they? They wiped the Druids out. Um, but
We weren't we weren't meant to be we weren't meant to be like this. We weren't meant to be thinking about Jesus, 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 Jesus. You know, he's from the Middle East. It's nice enough to love him, but what it's kind of wiped everything out. And now even we're goddamn atheists. There's no spirituality in the land. That's why we've got pictures of bloody old people talking about sex, talking about their clitoris. I mean, what the hell? Who wants to know that? We're so out of touch with magic, and then if you mention magic, people think, oh, you're Satanist, and so
yeah,
people then fall away from that, you know. And I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, we were, led by Merlin, weren't we? We got that blood, and most of us are Celtic. We got, that sort of thing going on, which is even stronger. I don't know who it is that's taken over the UK and made it so dead. I mean, so dead here. Just the air is dead. I don't know who did that. Somebody did it. Um,
I agree. I mean, mass suppression of women as well. You think about all the wise women that served their communities, burned as witches all across Europe. It was a Holocaust. I mean, it's
and
horrific. When you think about it, it's absolutely horrific what happened.
maybe
And he's
it's
meant to be a
maybe
loving God. Are you
maybe
joking?
maybe it is. I've really got a sore throat. I think I've probably got that Indian COVID.
Oh, don't
The
say that. You want to talk yourself into it. It's
um,
probably, it
uh,
might be a bit hay fever with it, getting a bit summery now. And we're getting the odd sunny day, aren't we? And then it goes bloody freezing again. So it's probably the weather messing you about. No, I agree with you 100%. I think,
well, it's the Vatican, Rome,
yeah,
Vatican, and people say the Vatican is still in charge, and the Vatican don't want the rest of us to be spiritual. They squash. I grew up in a Vatican home, and literally, I was reading Peter Pan, and I loved it. The Mermaid Throwing a Bubble, just one of the Lost Boys. I got that book snatched off me, and not allowed to read anything supernatural, anything. They all say at the church, "Oh, that's a cult. That's the devil."
oh
That's the
my
occult. Well,
God.
no, sorry, it's not. Where do you go when you die if not into the unseen? So why should we not know about it, for God's sake? It's just crazy. It's crazy. It's all around us. It's what makes life. Instead of that, we have these horrible lives where we feel like murdering ourselves to get out of it. It's like no spirituality allowed.
Yeah, it's all materialism, isn't it?
It's materials.
And
You've got to think.
your worth is how big your house is and how posh your car is. And I know it's a cliche, but it's true. People still think like that, and it's ridiculous.
Well, no, you have to think like that. I mean, you have to think like that to survive. I didn't think like that, and look at me. I'm now at risk of living on the street. I mean, I said to my son, "You have to make money your God as soon because that's the way it is. You're here, and it's a place. For some reason, the way they've engineered it, it's like um, money is God. And even now, when I go to the church I know over in Hayes, it's full of Indian people. And I think, it looks weird them going in there. And I think, hang on, you should be Hindu. And the Catholics, the Vatican, went out to India and just taught them out. I mean, it's totally against who they should be worshipping Shiva. I mean, we should all be in touch with our gods, because didn't the overall God put different gods out over each nation? That's how we get our spirituality. And I think here we probably, I don't know, wasn't it Odin and all that? And it's a very interesting spirituality, but I bet nobody knows anything about it.
Well, they're starting to now. I think that's coming back. I don't know. It depends, doesn't it? Because we're not only Nordic, we're Anglo-Saxon and what's the other Celtic. So
I
it's
know it's just
all those different. Really, I
we.
don't know what the Anglo-Saxons believed,
I don't
but
know. The Irish or in. They were into all just talking to the Fae, weren't they, the Irish?
Yeah, well, Thomas Sheridan's information about the Fae is incredible.
Is it?
Oh yeah, it's really interesting because he lives near, is it Belbuin? He lives near a mountain that's meant to be like a she mountain, a fair mountain. No, the fair were feared by country folk in Ireland, according to him,
Well, yeah,
and
to
because
be
they
the
could. Sorry,
Tuatha
Chris.
Danann. Tuatha Danann. They arrived on a shining ship in the mountains, and they were a whole different race. They, I think they merged with the humans, didn't they? I don't know. It's a god called Danu, anyway.
Yeah, um, I've I've heard that the fair were the Tuathos, whatever, however you pronounce it, and after they were defeated in the Battle of Moytura, is it? They went underground and became the fair.
Yeah.
But there is that absolute belief in that. I think to this day in Ireland, in rural Ireland, and yeah, they could majorly mess things up for you at the fair, and people feared them, and there was
Well,
such a lot of. Sorry.
they 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 are the Jinn, I do believe. They're the Jinn. I mean, they're just what the Irish
The
call them
Irish gin.
today. Well, the Middle Easterns call them Jinn. We call them Fae. I just think they're interdimensional creatures. And then I suppose people in UK call them aliens, but they're just interdimensional beings that can take us when they feel like it, and they're probably more powerful than us. I mean, I don't understand it when the Muslim videos they do, seemingly the one that leads them is called the Iblis,
Mm.
and the Iblis came to God and said, why did you create humans? They're made of clay, and we're made of fire. And seemingly, this earth, the whole earth, was covered in Jinn. It was a home of Jinn, and God said to the Iblis, who was an angel, I think perhaps Azazel, go down and clean it up because the Jinn are making, they're killing each other and it's all a bit horrible on the earth. And so the Bliss went down and killed off a lot of them. There was only a few left, few thousand left. And then God said, oh, I'm going to take some clay and I'm going to make these other creatures here, and I want you to worship them, and the rest of the jinn to worship them. And seemingly Bliss said, well, why? We're made of fire, and you've just made them out of clay, and they don't seem very nice. He had a good point. And so Iblis then went off and took the rest of the jinn to another realm, and seemingly watched over us and said to God, we're going to try to do anything we can to lead them astray. And the Muslims believe that, they're not just in the Middle East, they're all over. The Muslims believe that the UK is drenched in hordes of jinn, leading people astray.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. Why are we drenched in hordes of gin now? Why
Um, because of pornography, immorality, probably those billboards,
that?
and we're killing each other. I mean, it is ugly. I mean, I don't like it. I don't really like being alive right now. It's just, I know it stinks. There's a lack of spirituality. So I think he had a good point. I mean, I suppose he meant all over, but I suppose because he was in, it's Merciful Servant actually, because he's in the UK. I suppose he was talking about it being infested by hordes of jinn. I think he's probably got a point. But it's interesting how we don't, um, as Christians, we don't have that. We've got a weird religion where we just think Jesus, Jesus. I mean, I love Jesus enough, but it's like we just focus on Jesus and we don't look at anything else around it. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's just like mad. We have to look at
why,
these
why aren't we
these
taught he was a Jewish rabbi when we're growing up? Because we have like the blonde Christian version of Jesus. Is
yeah.
he just a Jewish rabbi? Well, why have I only learnt this when I'm an adult? Mind you, why have I only learnt a lot of things when I'm an adult? I mean, it's like mass brainwashing, isn't it?
It is mass brainwashing, and why? Who's done that to us? And it's not even much of a as a spirit, the occult is banned. Why? It's a dirty word. It's linked with Satan. And interestingly, actually, I find, talking of worship of Iblis, I find Iblis had a good point in many things. Why did God say to beings that are made of fire that they've got to worship us? Humans are pretty, and then when you go and talk to various people, they're like, oh, we're closer to God, and oh, we're better than them. But how can we be better than interdimensional creatures that are made of smokeless fire and that can shapeshift? How I don't understand that either. How are we superior to them? We can't be. And then people say, we're closer to God. Is, well, how are we closer to God when we have child pornography and child
Well,
rape and
that's
child?
very arrogant. What human meaning humans?
Yeah, yeah. People say that, when you talk to Imam or something about Iblis and how he had a bloody point about why should he kneel in front of humans, because we're inferior, we're like animals. I mean, and if they were interdimensional, and could shapeshift and could do all sorts of things and travel at the speed of sound, so why should they kneel to what is in effect animals? And then if you ask imams about that, they say, oh, we're closer to God, we're closer to God. And then you point out child pornography and that children that come here that haven't got protection of parents, they're usually raped. I mean,
Yeah.
how are we closer to God? No, Iblis was actually right. We are dank. We're pretty bad. I mean, and he also said, I think they're a mistake, and I have to agree. There. So why aren't we all worshipping Iblis? I mean, I really scratch my head at that. I really do.
I don't know. I mean, we're meant to be, according to the Christian religion we're brought up with, we're made in God's image, aren't we?
Mm.
So that's why one reason why we might be closer to God. But I don't know. I'd like to know where the origin of the Abrahamic religions actually is.
Me
Because I mean
too.
three branches have come out of it, haven't they? Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. So there must be a point where this started, because everybody else around the world, when you think about it, they all humans, they all get in tune with nature. They, they live how, and they know how things work. Really, what reality really is, you might say, instead
Yeah.
of, like you said, this artificial one where we have to do these things and it's all around money
All
and
around,
if you
all around money. Soon, I mean, why is house prices? They're like millions. I mean, and so kids, when they come out of school, they have to get on that little rat race and start peddling, That's not
yeah.
what intended. God intended us to like do that. So even if you don't like money and you want to live the spiritual life, you're screwed. You can't do that. I mean, there's no way you can. You'll end up on the street begging. There's no choice for us.
Unless you can afford to do that.
Well, you're born into a rich family, yeah, but they
Yeah,
all on bloody
yeah,
drugs, stuff like that, because their parents are so screwed up.
true. There is that.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, so shall we end here, or do you want to carry on?
well, I haven't got anything else to say about the Mothman. I think I pretty much covered it. Generally speaking, not all the major details, but it's interesting, isn't it? It kind of ties in with what we're talking about, because like that lady who was the Lon Strickler described, this lady walking along in a park in Chicago, walking her dogs probably like she does every day, and she sees a bloody Mothman. And so
Yeah,
that's your reality. And this is what the guy, the How to Hunt program guy, this is what he says. People have their reality shattered. And this is one of the most difficult things, because they're confronted with something. It's not meant to exist, but it's there in front of you. And if you go and see a psychologist, the psychologist will tell it, or a psychiatrist, the psychiatrist will tell you some absolute bollocks. But you saw something that it doesn't exist. You're not meant to see this. You're not meant to experience this in your life, but you do.
yeah,
So I wonder if that's why there's such a big thing about denying these things, is because it's like reality slipping into your world when you're not meant to understand that there's things like that. Because it's no coincidence, is it, that all, like the First Nations, all the people around the world that are natives, they all know about things like this, and they all have like shamans, and they all have ways of dealing with things like this. Everybody around the world, everywhere, that's not touched by things like Abrahamic religion or whatever religion in whatever form. But it's
Yeah.
only places like here the oh no, I mean you're not even meant to believe in ghosts. Well, that's absolutely ridiculous. Everybody knows ghosts exist, but we're not meant to believe. You're not meant to believe in UFOs, but people see them all the time. I mean, what the hell?
Crazy. And spiritual mediums supposed to be bad. Women that
Yep.
practice magic are. I've been, because I'm interested in occult. I've been accused of all that, Satanism and all that stuff. I don't really understand ritual magic. I'm not even sure that I believe in it. I mean, from interviewing magicians and all that, and Brian and having, it seems that magicians, what they do is they draw sigils of the entity they want, and a sigil is like a signature of them. So they will draw it on paper, call down whatever entity they feel like, could be a jinn, could be, I don't know, like, Azazel or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then ask him for whatever they want. And, maybe if it's a love spell, they throw in some rose petals, or, maybe bleed on the page, or, stuff like that. And that seems to be what magic actually is, really. I mean, I'm not sure if you haven't got psychic powers that you can actually commune with. Why would you be able to? If you're not psychic, if you are psychic, then fine, happy days. But if you're not, how can you suddenly talk to entities? I mean, it's not going to happen, is it?
Isn't that a bit trite doing things like that? I mean, if you can get in touch with these super powerful entities and that's all you want off them, it's a bit, yeah, it's a bit daft, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Give me money.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I suppose it's a practical application of ritual magic, but can't you get sort of like wisdom and knowledge and
Oh, I
loads
know.
of
I know.
questions that you could have answered and not just like get some bugger to fall in love with you or whatever it is.
I know. So, and Kurt, I noticed Miles Johnson is doing, weirdly, they're doing ritual magic with Duncan and who's the other guy? I can never remember.
Grid Keeper. No, Duncan is Grid. Tim Reefat.
Yeah, and then and then Miles, who's always been, I knew he wasn't against that kind of stuff. Somebody told me he was a magician. I'm like, no, he's not. But then he did a fast blast saying, oh, we're all up against it now. We should start doing some black magic. I was like, what?
What kind of black? The TikTok curse thing? Do you mean that thing?
Well, pig's heads and pig blood and all this.
You what? Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I know. Funny. I just kind of laugh.
Oh, that's great, isn't it? Yeah, well, that's really going to help. Something like that.
Oh, that's
Let's,
funny. It's a
let's just hope he doesn't start doing naked posters that get put around London.
good.
Oh God. Well, yeah. So
We'll end up now, I guess, because
I
I
think
want.
we will. Yeah, we'll end up on the question of what is reality then? Is it doing your 9 to 5 job and getting the best house you can and driving your posh car? Or is it when you have your reality shattered by you have a crypto experience or I don't know, a gin experience or something?
Hmm.
It's interesting though, isn't it? It's like almost like we're at a crossroads of we can go one way and carry on the way we have, or we've got a chance to like change things for the better, I think. And have
Yeah,
really understand the world we live in, I think is the point I'm getting to. Really understand it and not have this half-assed version of it that we get.
it's greedy. I mean, it is. I mean, it's a bit. I mean, as I was telling you, my electricity went here, and the cooker's gone kaput, and the landlord. I was dreading him coming. I didn't sleep the night before. That's why my immune system's crashed. Actually, I find it hard dealing with him because I find it hard dealing with like unfairness,
Mm.
and he came and he was like, and I knew it would happen because he's done it on other things. He was like, "Oh, the cooker's blowing for the electricity." I said, "Yeah, I need to get an electrician." I knew he'd say no, and he goes, "No, no point wasting money in that. It's maybe a switch. I'll come back and do it because he's not an electrician. So A, it's dangerous. B, he said, "Oh, I'll come next week." And I thought, well, hang on, this is 1,500 a month. So I mean, how much is it? It's a lot a week. It's a lot a
Oh my
day. And
God.
I'm doing without a cooker meanwhile. And even when he does come back next week, firstly, it's dangerous. He's not an electrician, you know. I don't want him to do that, but he wants to save money. And here's someone with a lot of houses, and I know he's well to do, you know. And it just, I don't know, it crushes something in me. And I know it's why I've gotten sick. Just that first being powerless over someone like that, because I do feel abused because I'm paying money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so I feel abused. I feel it's grossly unfair. I've got a child. So now we can't, you know, I had to go and buy a little ring thing I can plug into the wall and, you know, to cook frigging beans.
I know what you
Um,
mean. Yeah, yeah.
just that kind of attitude. And it seems to me, certainly in London, that is seen as okay and good even, and you know, and good business and save money and can't go spending. And it's like other people at the bottom, how if you're very powerless, you really do get to see how evil it is out there, you know. And if you're not in a position of powerless, you can just whistle Dixie and, you know, oh, life's okay. But as soon as you get in that spot of where other people are likely to sort of tread on you, you can really feel just how nasty society has got, you know?
Yeah, I mean, where's the sense of community in that? Instead of thinking, oh, there's a woman and her son, and right, they need a working cooker. Let's see what we can do to sort this out as quickly as possible. All he thinks about is money.
Yeah. It's ugly. I mean, it's not. I mean, I won't see him now for a couple of weeks. I know that. He just, you know, ignore my texts and emails, and then when he does come, you know, it's like the window. My window was open in the bedroom. It was wedged open. He said, "Get some black tape." You know, how does 1,500 a month rent equal with stick black tape in it? I
Oh,
feel like
that
what?
is a huge amount.
Yeah, I
It's
feel well. You should
massive.
be
We're getting a
working.
massive posh house up here for that.
Well, you should at least get something back, you know? I mean, he bought this a long, long time ago, so it's paid up. He owns a good few properties. How does that equate with black tape? It's like I'm squatting here, and he's saying, "Well, put some black tape there, love. You know, you are squatting. I'm letting you have the squat." Do you know what I mean? It feels like that, and that doesn't allow me my self-respect because I then look in the mirror and think, "Well, Christine, well done. You're living in a squat," you know?
No, it's not your fault though, is it?
Yeah, well, the council don't have. So now I'll just have a ring to do frigging beans. I do use like cooker, you know, a lot. I mean, I'm supposed to cook for my son in the oven, and you know, and I won't have it. Even if I do have, I don't think I'll have it. I think that'll be it. I won't have it. I don't think he's going to fix it. You know, I mean, because it's only the cooker. And I spoke to the council, and they said, well, you know, you provide the cooker. If you look in the contract, it says, you know, the cooker. So, but it's the electricity going into the cooker and it keeps blowing it. You know, I got a new one and it's blown that cooker, it's blown this cooker. So it's electrics here that need looking at. You see, he won't admit that. And so you get to a stalemate. And then I'm left
Oh,
let stupid bitch because she's working class low level idiot do without a cooker because why not, you know? And that's the way the world is, you know. If you're poor, you just suck it, you know. I was really upset actually. I was driving around, I was crying. My son was like, "What you're crying about?" I said, "I feel like I'm trapped in a prison. It's a prison of poverty." But what makes it more of a prison, it shouldn't be a prison, is that you don't get respected. You don't get respected. You get sort of dished out shit because you can. And that's probably what that merciful servant guy was going on about, swords of Djinn over here, that people are like cold-hearted, you know. They're not all seeing Jinn, but they're influenced in a way just to hurt other people. You know, if you can get away with it doesn't matter. You know, he will be having his dinners fine, you know, just fine and dandy. And you know, I'll be sort of struggling
and
on.
stuff you with you just your one ring.
Yeah, I
God,
know.
that's so shy. It really is. I think I'd be crying. I'd be in tears as well. That's
I just was
awful.
crying. I said, you know what? I said to my son, I don't like him seeing me crying or depressed. I try and hide it. It's always over money. And but I did. I couldn't hide it, and I was so angry, and I just felt, you sort of get jizzed on, and you feel like jizzed on. You feel. I know it's not sex involved, but I kind of feel like I'm a prostitute, being jizzed on. That's how I feel. Just jizzed on, just oh, that woman there that doesn't um, deserve any respect, just on it just feels like it. I mean, last time I had dealings with him as well, I had to get out the jasmine oil to get over it. I think that was about the window. You stick some black tape. I mean, it was blowing a gale. It was wedged open. It was like 2 inches of open. He came. I said, "Could you get someone to come and fix it?" And he went, "No, you could stick some." Posh middle class accent. You can get some, just put black tape over it. It went away. Honestly, I just felt like I was a piece of shit left on the floor melting in the sun. I did. I felt really, really bad actually. And I had to get jasmine oil to just stand up and feel human again. But
Yeah, it's a shame you can't get with the housing association or somebody like that. And
I
at
can't.
least,
It's all taken. Yeah, it's all taken. There's nothing.
yeah, it's a massive waiting list.
Yeah.
And your son needs to finish his education, so you've got to stick around, haven't you?
I've got to stick around here, yeah. But even if I did move, I mean, where is there to go? I've got to get an income of some kind, and I haven't got that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird. There's a true crime explosion going on. I've met two serial killers, and can't get my book published. Sitting there with met two serial killers, written about it, but no one interested. Well, hang on. I've got right close up, at a deep sniff, and can dish you up, all about them spiritually as well. How come people aren't buying that? They're buying Chris Berry D's books. I mean, and he just keeps it lightweight. Oh, I sort of, met this when he growled at me, and copy paste. This is what they did, and it's out there selling millions and doing talks in London at, Crime Con about what serial killers are like. But actually, he doesn't know what they're like. God bless. I like Chris, but he doesn't really know what they're like.
You've got that thing coming up though, haven't you? That interview for the show.
Yeah, I've got that, but will I get that? I mean, I don't know. There's always something, and they.
What is the show exactly? Is it a psychic detective type thing or something?
Yes, for cold cases. So they want. She told me it was something about, say she was in a ballroom in Hammersmith, and there's a lot of murders gone on there, so they get in a journalist, a private detective, and a spiritual medium, and they investigate why the murders are going on. I mean, I can do that, but it's psychometry, isn't it, and feeling the
Yeah.
walls and like that. But I think if she's going to interview me over Zoom, but I think for something like that you have to do a dummy run. You have to get someone in a haunted house. You have to get someone
Yes.
somewhere like that
Well,
and say, right,
why don't you suggest that to her?
oh yes, good idea. Yeah. Because
Suggest
you
that
have
to her.
to. Yeah, there's no point. I mean, I know other people that do that kind of thing. Sometimes they use machines, sometimes, but you have to test them, don't you? Because or they can, you see these people on TV and they're going, oh, someone's coming through. He's an old man, and oh, he's telling, oh, he used to live here, and oh, hang on a minute, I'm telling him to go, George. His name was George. And you think, oh, what a load of crap. What a load of crap. So I think, yeah, you have to test them, don't you? I mean, why don't they get one after another and test them? That would be a good show, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, it would be. That would be really interesting.
And I don't know how a private detective, I said to her, I said, I've been a private detective since I was 16. I said, I've got no work because of phone hacking, but private detectives, they're crap. They get databases to trace missing people. They poke their nose around again, getting into databases. That's all they do, really. The old Magnum PI plodding around the streets asking questions, that's long gone. They're lazy people. And as for a journalist, I mean, journalists couldn't investigate their way out of a paper bag. So I don't know how this particular show is going to work, really.
Yeah, it does sound like an unusual premise, but maybe that's the angle they're coming from, the unique type thing.
Unless it's there's a show about Bianchi, Kenneth Bianchi, who is coming out again. It's for the same channel. I won't say what channel it is, but it's for the same channel. And I thought, is this kind of to do with Bianchi? And then they're going to say, oh, look, Christine visited him, wrote a book, and here she is being spirit medium. I don't know. Maybe that. Maybe it's linked. I mean,
Well,
who knows?
have a crack at it anyway. But
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I will, but I mean, I know the Bianchi thing. I've said I don't really want to do it, because all they do is they'll regurgitate his crimes and then they'll wheel me out and say, well, what do you write to him for? Well, the fact is, I wanted to dig around and find out what evil is. But,
oh, is that the women who were in love with serial killers people? Is that
yeah,
them?
yeah. So I spoke to her. It's funny. I spoke to her about all, how I found out it was a Djinn, blah, blah, blah. And I think I did quite well with Bianchi. He was a pain in the ass. Anyway, and then she rang me again and she said, oh, pity we can't get hold of his wife, like this woman he married. And she said, because you and Shirley, we could do a separate episode for you and Shirley. And I'm like, what? His wife? I didn't write him for like personal reasons. I said, I'm a journalist and an investigator. I said, but, I said it might have been down to, my interest might have been down to, I was sexually abused as a kid. It probably was. And she was going, oh, well, yeah, talk about that. And then we'll get Sheila Eisenberg talking about why women like you are drawn to that. And I thought,
Oh, yes, I remember you saying last show. What a
I mean,
bloody cheek.
cheek, and I don't mind saying, yeah, I'm a journalist, yeah, I'm an investigator, yeah, I'm a spiritualist. But dig down, and the reason might well be that, I was used as a sex slave by a man like that. My brother, of course, used me as a sex slave, and when I was a child, and he was an adopted male, and I, of course, go and investigate adopted males. Brady adopted male, Bianchi adopted male, and it might be me trying to get power over my brother. He certainly dominated me every day. I'm willing to look at that, but I'm not willing to look at that while she says, yeah, drawn to, because that's not fair.
Well, it's like she hasn't listened to you. She hasn't listened to what you've said to her, and
Yeah.
she hasn't sort of looked at your CV credentials, whatever. So it's
No,
more convenient for her to lump you in with the serial killer groupie section.
and yeah, with this Shirley, whatever her name, married. I mean, this she could hardly speak. She went on TV and went, "Oh, there came my king. He's innocent, and they too do they? They not, Christine, she had no teeth as well. So, and they're Christians who them sex and serial killers. They know bad man. I mean, and then I get wheeled out next.
So this is a lady that married Kenneth Bianchi in prison, I take it.
Shirley, yeah, Shirley. I mean, God bless her soul. Let's not sit in judgment of her. But
On what
she was,
planet would you do that?
oh yeah,
After
but no,
knowing what he did to women, on what planet would you do that?
I would say she was mentally ill because the way she talks,
There must be. I mean, they must be lacking or challenged.
But then her saying this, the documentary maker, oh yeah, we'll have you on the same episode. I mean, it's hardly fair, but I know why that's done. She said to me, oh, could you get me an introduction to him? I said, well, firstly, I didn't do that kind of thing. And
Sorry, serial killer introduction service by Christine Hart.
you know what I mean? And I
You should have said no, Chris. You really should. It'd be great.
oh, I said to her, but I took no, how many years? 3 years. I said it took me 3 years to crack that nut. And I said it was hard of years and years, writing a letter, not good enough, writing another. And what? You're going to come in at the top and you're going to be the investigative journalist that got Bianchi. And I'm going to be Shirley. Nah, dream that fuck on, dream on. You are joking me. But that's the way she's doing it. And, they're ambitious. Why shouldn't she do that? I look the stupid slut whose whole life revolves around their bits. Oh yeah, the reason I do anything actually, love, is just it's all about the bits for me. I mean, and she comes in as the hot shot, sexy journalist who, is that a circular head I've got aloft and I'm holding? Everyone cheer. Yeah, that's a notch under my belt. She can dream on. I'm not even going to appear in the bloody thing, you know? No
No, I
way.
don't. I mean, that's insulting. That
It's
really is insulting.
Right. But that's why they, it's like, ambition. And I said to her, I said, it took me 3 years to get anywhere near Bianchi because he's like a bloody safe you have to crack. And do you know what she said back? And I said, oh, it took me 3 years to get near the real light. Ray, Brady, I said, stuff like that. I said, that's my life. My life's gone now. And my life was about finding out why they did it. Like, I think the Omar bomb was probably a blood sacrifice. And I think it all leads back to the Djinn, right? And so that is my life's fucking work, right? And she, do you know what she said to me? I said, oh, it took me years to get close to her, years to get close to Bianchi, years to get close. You know what she said? Oh, I think it's amazing you got so close to Bianchi, and we're gonna just show how close you got. And I thought, oh, what's that trying to say? And that's why I want you to introduce me. I mean, it's just even to say that is disrespectful, isn't it?
Well, she can do one. I mean, for God's sake.
Yeah.
She's giving you a backhanded compliment, isn't she?
What do you mean?
Oh God, these people are so annoying. They're just out for themselves, totally out for themselves.
Well, with me looking like the oh, you got very close. Oh, sure, it's not about that little twinge of yours, lovey. Oh, here's Shirley. Do you know what I mean? Fancy him, did you? Do you know what I mean? And all that kind of shit. He's ugly, you know. Not only is he ugly, he's goddamn old. And not only is he old, he's a pedophile. Sorry if that doesn't twinge me, you know? And what am I going to have to go on TV and say that and lose my temper? And no, it's not going to work out. Actually, it's not going to work out.
No, yeah, I don't think you should do that one. Yeah. When is the thing that you appeared in that you did for Channel 4? When's that going to appear? Is that going to be soon?
Yeah, might be soon. That's about Millie Dowler though. So yeah, that's about Millie Dowler. So I don't know. I'm sure that will kick off our Brian.
Oh God. Is he still milling about?
Yeah. I had a nightmare about him last night. He was in my dream, right? And I was in the school playground. And there was Brian H, as everybody knows, the pop star, and we were making egg. We were making fried egg. And he said, you don't like me. And I said, I love you. I said, I really, really like you. You're not on my side. I said, I am on your side. Of course, I'm on your side. And he was going, no, I don't think so. And then all these people started gathering around me. And I was trying to get away. Anyway, I managed to get away. I managed to get through somebody's legs, and I was walking away. I was really crying because I felt upset and sad that he thought I wasn't his friend because he was head honcho in the playground. I don't know what that dream means. Probably means that wow,
Well,
it's not
your
going
subconscious
on.
fears, isn't it? And what's been going on. What's happened to Andrew Guy? Has she stopped uploading vids to her YouTube channel completely?
She's done a few now, but I don't know when their court case is going to appear. Didn't she make a complaint about the death threats and then I don't know, is that still going on? I don't know.
Do you know what? I've switched off from all of them. I don't follow any of them anymore. But I'm just curious about Andrew Guy because it was her that put the complaint in, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly, why do these people who this is wrong? This is wrong. What's happening to do with Brian? Because I do believe he's ill, and I think he's vulnerable, and he's got all these people that have latched onto him that are in his chats when he's doing his videos, just because he's a celebrity and they want to think that they're associated with the celebrity, and Brian might say something to them or something.
Yeah.
He's not well. He's and you're latching onto somebody and you're feeding their delusions and their paranoia just to make yourself feel better about yourself, basically, is what's happening. The whole thing is really twisted and distorted.
I know, it's bad. It's bad. I know. He needs someone next to him that's going to say, you need to calm down. You need to take some steps back. And, not, I know he's angry with people like that, Bill Maloney, but, we all get people who come in our lives and try and do this and try and do that, and step back and look at what his goals are, I mean, but he even sounds differently. Like when he was on my show that time, you listen to the cadence and energy in his voice. It's very calm, it's very confident. You can tell he's
Yes, I know what you mean. I've listened to it in the recent past. Yeah.
he sounds famous, and you get that. I mean, I've spoken to Mick Jagger, I've spoken to Bob Geldof. You can hear that same twang, but now it's like he sounds like a normal person, and it's like
Just an angry middle-aged man.
Yeah, it's like all the superstars gone, and I don't know, does the audience do that? Some kind of jealousy, or is it an alter personality that he's got come out? But it's the wrong pathways. I mean, it's just wrong, I mean, I don't know how that's happened, but maybe it's anger, Diane. I mean, we've all got anger.
I think it's a shame he hasn't got somebody in his life that can just step in, tell him to stop making YouTube vids, concentrate on his mental health and getting better, managing his mental health better, because this is not helping his mental health at all.
Or even YouTube's about, that one he did about the stars, and, one's about, maybe India, COVID. How about that? Talking about worldwide events, when he's got a movement on his case. But I think it's always a mistake to talk about, oh, this one hurt me, that one hurt. I mean, I do it though myself, John Boyle this, John Boyle that. It doesn't really get me anywhere. I mean, I don't even know if John Boyle knows about it, but you see how it sort of drags the person that's feeling anger and hatred down, and the other person's probably just getting on with their lives,
Yeah, but I mean, you're not bipolar or whatever it is that's going on, psychosis, whatever is going on with Brian. Or you've got good reason to be angry and the things that have gone on. Absolutely, 100%. But this isn't helping him at all. This isn't making his life better. This is driving him further and further and further into paranoia. So if he is bipolar, when he starts downcycling, every time he's going to go further and further down, and it's just going to get worse for him. I mean, I did have a peek recently, and I saw he had a clip of Daniela Westbrook, and she said it was the one where she said something's going to happen to Brian, and it won't be any of his fault. So anything like that, he absolutely latches onto, which in a way is reasonable. You could see that as a threat, couldn't you? Potentially. But for somebody like Brian, that is like, oh God, that's just going to feed into things so much. So he just thinks that there is a plan to kill him. It's coming from the Queen, and he's going to be killed, murdered. And that's what he's living with, and that's why he's making all these things. And it's to do with knowing about paedophilia in the music industry and the red rooms and things like that.
But I think those people that were running that red rooms, whatever, they're probably dead by now. I would say.
I think you're right.
Couldn't he get a load of gangs together and threaten them? They're probably just old guys. I mean, I would say he was in the position of power over what creeps ran. They're probably gangsters, I suppose. Well, I suppose it is normal to be afraid of gangsters.
I don't know if it is the gangsters. It seems like when you watch some of these shows like Atwood and Jones English and people like that, it seems like a lot of these gangster people, they've had their own experiences of being targeted for sexual abuse, I've noticed.
Yeah, no.
That's rather strange, isn't it? It's like our theories that we had about Darren G.
I like
being targeted.
So probably was.
Yeah, sorry.
It probably was. Okay, well, should we wrap up and then, because got to get out.
Oh yeah, we've gone over. Okay then. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you for sharing about the Mothman. That was great.
Well, yeah, I hope it was all right. I'll try not to bore people with it, but I think things like that are interesting because, like we were saying, there seems to be this reality that we all live with, and then something like this comes along and absolutely shatters everything. Yeah. So yeah, okay. So coming up to 5 minutes out, we passed the hour. All right. Thank you to everybody for listening to me and Christine. wish Christine luck with her interview for this interesting show that she might be on. And we'll see you in the next show, and no doubt we'll have some more interesting topics to talk about. Okay, bye everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Christine.
Bye. Thanks, Jana. Bye-bye.
Bye.